Well, hello, 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 and welcome to the Difference Makers. We are here making a difference. I am your host, Jacqueline Grant, and today we are making a difference with your marketing, with your sales techniques, because you know we are all salespeople, no matter what your title, no matter what your role, we all sell ourselves, our skills, our talents, our abilities. We sell them as a commodity, whether you are an employee or an entrepreneur. So today we have a guest who is an expert in selling and the sales mindset. It is a different mindset, and she's here to share with us some golden nuggets, tips, and strategies on how to be a better salesperson, to promote yourself, to promote your skills, your abilities, your commodities, whatever it is that you are selling as your service or in your business. We are going to share with you some golden nuggets to be able to prepare not only for the tail end of Q4, which is a total selling opportunity right now, as well as preparing for 2022. My guest for today is Mair Hill, and I'm going to introduce her as the one who is holding or has held the troop record for selling the most Girl Scout cookies, to smashing all sales records for her first real job out of college, to earning Rookie of the Year at the start of her career as a manufacturer's sales rep, to starting her own multi-million-dollar sales agency in the gift industry. Mair Hill has a proven track record for sustaining outstanding success in sales, and I want to bring to the virtual stage Mair Hill. Welcome, Mair.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline, and thank you so much for having me today. I love what you said before about it being a sales mindset, especially as we come into Q4, because that was one of the things I learned early on at the start of my career, because when the first Q4 hit in the sales cycle, I didn't treat it any differently as I did the rest of the year. And my sales were outstanding. And then when I got together with the other groups with the company I worked for in January, and they talked about December, and they said, "How are your sales?" And I said, "Great." They couldn't understand it. And because they were expecting it to be a hard time to sell, and that's what they experienced. And since I was so new and so green, it never occurred to me that it would be different. And for me, it never was. It wasn't that year, and it never has been. So
Wow.
Thank you for that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So let's start off as we always do with, and you've already started to share, but how are you making a difference in the lives of others using your gifts and talents and abilities?
I make a difference because I'm the secret sauce. My abilities to distill ideas, make them very simple, and to help people kind of reframe what it is that they're thinking and what it is that they're doing and how they're doing it, to do it more simply and more effectively. That's the difference I make. And I would love, my mission really is to up level the entire sales industry, one sale at a time, because for too long, the industry has had such a bad rap because people think you have to be pushy or manipulative or icky in order to be successful. And that's not the case. I'm proud to be a salesperson. I'm proud to say that I'm in sales. I know my customers are lucky to work with me because I care. And I really care about serving them and helping them get the results that they're looking for. It's not about me. It's about what they want. And that's the foundation. Sales is all about relationships and building strong relationships.
Absolutely. And that is the foundational aspect of what drew us together, what we determined as our synergies of working together and partnering together, because we both believe in building business relationships in a strategic, systematic way that is not salesy, not pushy, and all those icky things that you talked about. So let's start with the backstory, how you got started from the cookie sales all the way to now. How did you determine that this was the line of work for you?
I've always been an entrepreneur. I had my first company when I was 14. I made feather jewelry. My company was called Tickle Your Fancy. And it just progressed from there. And my first job out of college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. But then I met somebody at my second job, and that job was commission only. And I was lucky. I was young, I was married, and I had the bandwidth to take a commission only job. I smashed all of their sales records. I worked for a chauvinist who, so the level that I was in, I was commission only based on these things that I was being able to send out. But the true sales, where the true money was made, he said only men could do. And at that job, I met a man named Keith. And Keith and I were going to partner, and we were going to go into business together. And he had a whole business plan, and he had his whole idea. And so in order to prepare for that, I went back to school at the time, Xerox professional selling skills. And I self-taught. So I took that course. So now I was ready to launch and be the sales portion of our little partnership here. And instead, I saw an ad in the paper. It was 2 lines. And that changed my life, because it was for a manufacturer's rep in the gift industry. And when I walked into the showroom that day, I looked around and I said, oh, I've bought that. Oh, I've bought that. Oh, I've bought that. And I felt home. And that was the job that I became Rookie of the Year. Commission only from my first job showed me that I could make a lot of money. And in my early 20s, back, I won't tell you how long ago, but a long time ago, I was then earning $10,000 a month, commission only, in this selling trinkets and rubber ants and candles. So it's a big volume to make that amount of money. And then I ventured out on my own, and I had my company for 17 years, where I trained hundreds of salespeople to people who aspired to be their best selves. That's who I worked with.
Well, that's a great testimony in self-determination, number one, but also stick-to-itiveness. No matter what someone may say, the chauvinist that you mentioned, that's often a driver to say, if you tell me I can't do it, I'm going to do everything to show you that I can, and blow the numbers out of the water, as you said. But also, what you said is very inspirational for those who may be in the early stages of their entrepreneurial journey, to be able to understand that whether it's commission only or going into your own business, where you are going to be pretty much determining your own salary income based on sales, some respect that is kind of a commission related, because you sell at a certain price, you have a certain amount of investment as far as your product or your service, and the difference is your commission or your benefit. So when you think of it from that standpoint, and it is about mindset and changing the mindset of thought, when you think about it that way, you actually can make more, because now you're not determined by a 9-to-5 schedule, that you're only being paid an hourly rate, and you can only make that hourly rate. And maybe there's an opportunity for more, but you still have to do so much more to get that extra. Whereas when you're in your own business, and this is pretty much an aha moment that I see a lot with new entrepreneurs, is that when they transition from corporate to entrepreneurship, and they see that as opposed to working for one client, meaning your employer, and getting one salary, you can use that same time frame and work for multiple people and get multiple salaries, and you're not necessarily expending more time or energy, because you're actually seeing that what you can do has a multiplier effect. You can systematize things and multiply your effort amongst many other customers, as opposed to just working for one customer as your employer. What do you say about the mindset that needs to happen to transition from employee to entrepreneur?
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, what you just said was very influenced, because my first job out of college, when I was still figuring out what I was going to do, I did work for, it was a small company, but it was a 9-to-5 job, salaried. And it was sort of temporary, because we had an agreement that I would come to work, I would do my best work, and I would continue to interview for what my real job was going to be. And at Christmas that year, I had worked there maybe 6 months. So I wasn't expecting a bonus, but the owner of the company lined all the employees up. There was probably 20. He lined them all up, and he went around and he gave each of them a Christmas card with their bonuses in it. And it came to me. He didn't even give me a Christmas card, and he was embarrassed. I was embarrassed. And it was literally at that moment that I said, no one will ever determine my worth again, ever. So that's why I say, obviously that still sticks in my mind. So it was really a pivotal moment. And I guess I should thank him for being that way, because it really drove me into commission only sales and not being afraid of it. Because as an entrepreneur, as commission only sales, you're right, I get to determine my own income. It's all based on how many people I talk to, how determined I am, my stick-to-itiveness, my work ethic, all of those things which I can control help me earn the amount of income that I wanted to. And one of the reasons that I'm on this mission, especially for entrepreneurs, is because too often when you don't have the right mindset and you're not trained properly and you have all this noise going on in your head, but you have this vision, you have this service, you have this product that you want to change the world. Mm-hmm. And what happens when you let that noise in your head overtake you, you end up back in that job. And not only do you miss out on changing the world, all the people that you would have affected with your gift or your service or your product, they miss out too. And that's why this is so important to me, to get people comfortable with the sales process, because as an entrepreneur, you're wearing all the hats, and there's not the margin early on to hire that outside professional salesperson. So it's up to you. And if you've never been trained, and if you had a bad sales experience, with I think everybody has in their life, and you think that's how you have to be, that will turn a lot of people off and keep them from realizing their ultimate goals to create their company and put their message, their gift, their product, their service out into the world.
If an entrepreneur is passionate about what they're attempting to do or are doing as a business owner, mm-hmm. if you can't bring across your passion, no one else can do it better than you. So you have to be able to explain your gift, your talent, your ability, your product, your service, whatever it is that you are bringing to market. Because if you can't explain it, no one else can. If you can't express your passion about why you're doing this and why you feel it's important, as we can definitely see with you, and your eyes just light up and your passion comes through when you're talking about your passion for sales and empowering people to be able to utilize sales more effectively. It's a gift that you have, and it's a gift that you are bringing to the world so that they can use their gifts to share with the world as well. So Mair, tell us about what's going on with your company now. Tell us a bit about your company and what maybe new endeavors you're working on for tail end of Q4 2021 and into 2022.
Well, thank you. So my company is Mair Hill Consulting. Again, my abilities to see around corners and anticipate 5 moves ahead, like on a chessboard, is what really sets me apart. But going back to my mission of up-leveling the whole sales industry, first we got to play with that mindset. And so starting Monday, I have a 5-day challenge. It's free, and it's exactly that. It's to break down those mental sales barriers that are keeping you stuck, keeping you small, keeping you uncomfortable with selling your product or service, especially for entrepreneurs. So it starts Monday. Jacqueline has the link. Mm-hmm. And then in a few weeks, I'll be launching my sales course, which is all about relationship sales. It's about keeping it simple, and it's not what you think. I will just say that it's easier than you think. It's simpler than you think. And it's time to shift your thinking. So anybody that's willing to shift their thinking, who needs more sales, because without sales, honestly, what you're doing is just an expensive hobby. Jacqueline has the link for my challenge next week, and the link for the next program isn't live yet, but Jacqueline will have it, and she'd be able to give it to all of you. And, mm-hmm. and knowing Jacqueline's generosity, I'm sure she'll add her own bonus on top of that. So keep checking back for that link.
Absolutely. We've put it in the chat, and I'll also put it in the comments so that those of you who are watching on replay, you can see this particular link and be able to sign up for Mair's wonderful challenge. And of course, we are in the internet world where this is evergreen. So you may be seeing this 6 months from now or a year from now. Will they still be able to participate in the challenge in the future, Mair?
I will be launching the challenge. Yes. Well, the recording will be available for the challenge. I will say that the recordings will be available at the end. The course will probably launch again in first quarter of 2022. So if you're seeing it after that, and if not, just contact Jacqueline and she can get you all the information in terms of how often I do that. But the course will launch now and then in first Q1 next year. After that, I think it's probably only going to be once a year. That's my aim, is that it gets everybody prepared to really go out and sell their hearts out. And it's easier than you think.
It is easier than you think. And Mair is giving you a great opportunity to learn from her for free during this challenge. So take advantage of it. Make the most of your Q4. This is really a golden opportunity on a number of different levels. This pandemic that we're in has provided so many opportunities. Millions of businesses, not thousands, millions of businesses have been started since the start of the pandemic in approximately March of 2020. In January of 2021 alone, 500,000 businesses were started, and it has exponentially grown since then. If you've had a vision, something in your heart, in your mind that you've wanted to do, this is the time to do it, because you no longer have to play small. You no longer have to play just in your local area. Everyone has an even playing field on the internet, and Mair can help you to manage that mindset, to get over whatever hurdles may be keeping you back from being a salesperson or selling and offering what you have to offer. If you have something that is beneficial to the world, it's your job to be able to bring that to market, or else, as she said, you're doing a disservice to those who need and want what you have to offer. So, Mair, in closing, share with us maybe some last tips or strategies that you can share with, let's say, a corporate worker who is considering transitioning to entrepreneurship and maybe wants to start 2022 with a new business.
Focus on what you want. You need to articulate what you want, because if you can't be specific in your head, then it will be hard to translate to the world. The other thing is that just because you're creative, when I had my company for 17 years, I championed every small business card. I still am championing small businesses, because being a creative, you don't always have the business acumen, but it doesn't mean that you can't be a creative and be successful and be profitable. You just need to seek the help that you need. Most salespeople arrive on their sales job and they're not trained. They're handed a customer list and said, go.
Figure it out.
Figure it out. And I too, I was like that in that first sales rep job. I was handed a customer list, and I remember walking around to all the other seasoned sales reps and saying, what do you say? What do you say? Well, if you've never been trained, you don't know what to say. So be easy on yourself and seek the training that you know that you need in order to be successful. Like, that's what I did. I went to Xerox and professional selling skill. I knew I didn't know anything about sales. I had been selling, but I wanted to make sure I did it right. And the same thing, it will start with your mindset. So take my challenge next week, because what your hesitancy to sell your own product and service, no matter how passionate you are about it, may not be your fault. It could be something that was so ingrained in you as a child that you still are operating on old information. And that's what we're going to uncover. We're going to expose it and dispose of it next week in this 5-day challenge.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, in the beginning, we talked about relationships and how important it is for building relationships. Now, back in my corporate days, I've worked with a lot of corporate Fortune 500 companies in the early part of my career. And one position I had was as an account manager I worked in the Wall Street area for a very large financial newspaper. I'll just say that. And I had that position, and I had never been a sales manager at that level. And having national accounts with all the major banks and financial institutions. And my supervisor, who was the publisher of the company, of the newspaper, would go out on sales calls with me. And I would see how she would actually have conversation.
Mhm.
Let's say it was an hour meeting. The first half hour was just chit chat. I was like, man, she's wasting time. She's wasting time. They don't want to hear about her kids and her dog, but they do. They do. So tell us about the small talk and the importance of the small talk, Mair.
It makes a big difference because it makes you human. And I will say, though, for me, the difference of the small talk, when I would pick up the phone, I'm still a believer in the phone. It's still the best method for making appointments and talking to your clients. But before I would pick up the phone, I would think about what it is that I wanted. Why am I calling? And if it's calling to find out how their daughter's wedding was on Saturday, then that's why you're calling. But if you're calling for an appointment, I pretty much dispose of the chit chat on the phone. My customers always appreciated that. If I was calling for an appointment, I'd say, hey, I'm calling for an appointment. Now, when I would go on the appointment or when I would meet with my clients, this is the same thing as you're meeting with your new clients or people who are potentially going to buy your services or your products. The first 10 or 15 minutes as I was getting myself situated were always chit chat. It was always, I kept copious notes on my clients so that I knew, and I would listen. I would always listen for the commonality. They said, oh, we like to go to Michigan in the summer. Oh, where in Michigan? Because I have a relationship with Michigan. And it would be, I would keep asking the questions until I found it, until I found that nugget that connected the two of us, and then we could expound on it. And it's amazing what it could be. It could be that you both have dogs. It could be that you both have a favorite color blue. It could be any number of things, but that's where the chit chat comes in, because that's the connection. It's the connection that builds those relationships. It's the connection that will help people remember you. It's the connection where people are really happy to give you their money, because it's rarely about price.
And it distinguishes you from all the others.
Yes, it does.
Being able to have those commonalities. Sometimes that's the difference between choosing you and someone else. It's because they like you, and they like you because they have something in common with you. And because we are more so in this Zoom world these days, in these little boxes, and we're communicating more that way and meeting people all across the country, all across the world, in this manner, it doesn't change. It's still about building relationships, and it's still about having that chit chat and finding commonalities. And whether you're using LinkedIn or any other social media platform, it's still about developing those relationships. And so with that, Mair, tell us, who do you love to work with? Who is your ideal client? And maybe if you can give us a bit of a case study of who you worked with and where they were before they found you. Once they found you, what did you do with them, and where are they now?
I love to work with people who are open-minded. I love to work with people who love to work with people, who are motivated to make a change in their lives, in the lives of others, so that they are creating I love entrepreneurs. I love entrepreneurs because they have the passion. They have the passion and the faith to take that leap, to go out on their own, as opposed to the security of a corporate job, which there's nothing wrong with that, but that's a different mindset. We need those people too, but it's the entrepreneurs of the world, I think, that are going to change the world. And I love working with people I've been mentoring people too for a long time. I love people who are willing to take my advice and come back to me and say, it worked because, or it didn't, although that's rare, I have to say. I remember with one of my clients, he called because he's a producer, and he was scheduled to be in this big job and it was Friday afternoon, and he called because he was scheduled to go to this big job that was going to be months on Saturday. In the meantime, his dream job called him, and they wanted him on set on Monday morning in a different state. And he called me, and he was all in a tizzy, and he was coming up with all of these reasons and stories and excuses. And I said, oh my gosh, stop. Call the big project back. Call them back and tell them that your big dream job just called and you're really sorry. You're going to have to bow out because you're needed in another state on Monday. And he was aghast that he could even suggest that. And I said, I want you to call. She's going to be so thrilled for you because as humans, we're so thrilled for the success of others. I said, and call me right back and tell me that she was thrilled for you and that you have the clearance to go to your dream job on Monday. And it took 3 minutes and he called me right back and he said, you were right. And the way was clear and he could start his dream job with a clear conscience, no fabrications necessary in this telling of this tale. And that's one of them that really stands out because I'm very good with human nature. I'm very good with the nuances. And in fact, that's what I teach in my course. It's all the nuances. People may know it, but few do it. And when you practice the nuances, that's what sets you apart. It head and shoulders above your competition so easily. One of my mantras always that I used to say, my reps still quote me. I'm still friends with lots of them. It's so easy to be good. It's so easy to be good. And people overlook that because they think it needs to be complicated. And it really isn't. It really isn't.
Well, that's a great way to end our time together, is that it's easy to be good. It's just getting used to doing it, just to take action. And that's oftentimes where we get stuck, is taking action. But Mair Hill of Mair Hill Consulting, thank you so very much for being here and sharing your sales wisdom, your sales tactics and strategies of just being good. So thank you so much. Be sure to check in the comments below or in the video here. If you're watching on replay, you'll be able to see the link for Mair's challenge that is starting in Q4 next week, which is October
18th.
October 18th. I was looking at my calendar over here. So October 18th, it starts. If you are watching afterwards, you can join in hopefully in midweek and catch up. But if you have any other questions or comments regarding Mair's challenge, you can definitely contact me, Jacqueline Grant, your host here at The Difference Makers. You can contact me on LinkedIn or be able to contact me within this chat to get further details. And Mair Hill, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure to hear your sales strategies and techniques. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Jacqueline. Thank you.